Hi, I'm Charlie from CookingSecretsForMen.com, and we are continuing our series, Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders. And I'm very pleased to have as my guest today, Gianni Vaccaro.
Hello.
Gianni, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate
having me.
It. Very nice. Gianni is the founder of a nonprofit here in Milwaukee called Sauce MKE, and we'll get to Sauce in just a minute. But I did want to talk about a couple things. First, we're both Italians.
Yes.
So that makes us smarter than most. We both share a love of food. Mm-hmm. So obviously I share a love of volume of food, where she is just like to both prepare it and I think eat it in much smaller quantities. You currently work at the Boys and Girls Club here in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And you also go to school, you go to college full-time. Mm-hmm. You're seeking a second degree in health and nutritional sciences?
Yes.
Okay, health and nutritional sciences. So talk a little bit about how you juggle those two areas and keep your head up.
And Sauce as well. Yeah, well, Sauce was basically inspired by some of the work that I've done with the Boys and Girls Club. I found out in my time at Boys and Girls Club, I've been there for about 5 years, that a lot of children who are in the clubs only eat with us. So they'll eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner with us, and maybe they didn't eat very often at home. So that was like an inspiration for me. So I wanted to stay in this community where I was helping, right? And so I work full time there. And for my nutritional sciences degree, so I started that, and I have, this is kind of exciting now that we can do online classes, because most of my classes are online. And after I was with my position, I teach social emotional development. And after I was in that position for a couple years, I was able to take certain days or little chunks of the day to go to class. Because there's some classes that as you get towards the senior years, you have to go into the class. So basically how I was able to maintain this, because I was doing Sauce before I was working full-time. I was still in school full-time, but I wasn't working full-time as well. So when that started, I just talked to my boss when I was offered the full-time position. I was like, hey, I have these things that I really care about. I really want to finish school, and I'll finish this December. And then, I really wanted to continue my degree and finish that up. And I also wanted to keep doing Sauce at least twice a week. So basically my boss, whose name is Summer, she's an amazing woman, she helped me facilitate like a pretty organized schedule, because I'm not very good at scheduling. So she helped me a lot, and actually through my job and through facilitating like when I would get tasks done and what I had to do, then I was able to like work into my schedules what times I had for Sauce. And then I stopped working so much on the weekends because I was working at Cafe Corazon as well. And then I would do homework.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I love it there, and they're still very nice. They are awesome to me. If you go there in the month of July and get a taco truck, $1 of the proceeds go to Sauce Milwaukee.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So how long did the Boys and Girls Club?
So I was there for 3 years, and then I left and went and learned about farming in California. So then I was working on farms for a few years. Then I came back here, started pursuing my degree, and I got a job with them again about 2 years ago.
Good. So as you mentioned in the opening, you are the founder of Sauce, MKE. It's a nonprofit with the mission to tackle food scarcity in our city, and our city does have as issues more in the northern suburbs, but certainly throughout, because the Milwaukee in and of itself is a poor city. Once you leave the east side.
Yes, absolutely. There's quite a bit of diversity out here.
So the interesting thing to me about Sauce is not only do you make the food and you deliver it on your bike.
Yes.
That, I think when people hear this story, they think that's just the coolest thing. So talk about how that came about. You talked a little bit about how Sauce started, but talk about kind of the inner workings, day to day, how much time you spend with it, and then the bicycle.
Okay, you got it. So Sauce, basically, so currently as I'm working in school and everything, I'm doing 2, maybe 3 runs a week, predominantly 2 on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And this is all the food I get is donation based. So things are donated from restaurants, grocery stores, or even just people in the city. A lot of the times our city has been very generous with me. I've never paid for a to-go container in my life. Everything is donated. We take things clean and sanitize them. Or some restaurants are like, we don't have any need for this size to-go container, so they'll just donate them. We've gotten donations from places like Dead Bird Brewing, Cafe Corazon, Aldi, Outpost, a bunch of places, Rocket Baby Bakery, the Milwaukee Art Museum, their cafe as well. So Discourse Coffee, lots of different pals, just giving us things that are either not profiting them or things like that. So instead of throwing them away, that's how we get most of the food. And then in summertime, obviously all of the farmers and gardeners are popping off and they're giving us all of their surplus. The West Dallas Farmers Market is a big donor for us. And so we get all of our food from there. Whenever I get food, I just try to cook it the night before and prepare a meal, especially because a lot of the food is going to be wasted. When you get it, you got to cook it. You got to make it right away. So this is what's difficult. So a lot of the times it's just that people will contact me, say, hey, I have this, can you use it? And I will tell them if I can or not. If I can't use it, I'll redirect them to something like Kinship or a different food disbursement organization. So that's like the food aspect of it. And that happened because at first I thought I could go around with groceries and things like that. But then I realized that I wasn't really removing all of the obstacles. That I was still giving like working parents and families, being like, all right, well now go cook that. And especially when I gave people things like certain weird vegetables or things, they're like, what do I eat this with? Yeah, right? I'm like, okay, here's just beets. And they're like, what do I do with beets? Or even hummus. Lots of people didn't know what hummus was. I was pretty surprised by that. And so I've learned a lot about the community as I biked through it. And the biking choice specifically, the way that I learned that there was like incredible amounts of food in the garbage was there's a nonprofit that is nationwide called Bicycle Benefits. The man who runs that is named Ian Klepetar. He took me dumpster diving for the first time. And I was like, oh, sure, that sounds fun. And we went to a Sendix dumpster. And he opened it and I cried. There was so much food in there and it was devastating to me. And my father was very food-based. He is very food-based. We're having a pizza throwing party later today. And he was very, very serious about food not being wasted and making sure that everybody ate. He grew up in a much different kind of environment than I did. And he always made sure that we knew that like wasting food was a real shame. So I saw this dumpster and I was like, oh my gosh, how can I get this? Because a dumpster is like a place of filth and disease and there's, it is unsafe in a lot of ways. There's lots of people dumpster dive and they're doing great, but for me to serve to the public, I want everyone to be safe and healthy. So I'm like, how can I get this food before it gets in a dumpster? And so that's when I pursued the 501c3. And because I was giving everything away for absolutely free and there was no questions asked, it was pretty easy for me to get. We're actually 501c3, 509a2, which means we're just a charitable organization. We don't make any profit. So, and he took me there and we went on our bicycles and he trailered all this food and we got all this stuff. So then I just started, before I had the 501c3, I started inquiring. And the reason I wanted to keep it on my bike was one, because when I was first doing this, I didn't have help. And I got rid of my car on purpose because in Milwaukee, everywhere I work is in Milwaukee. Farthest I work is like 41st and Good Hope, and the Oak Leaf takes you right there. So I started biking because it also helps me physically and emotionally. I really believe in biking. It's a really functional method, especially in a city where everyone's together, stacked on top of each other. So I kept biking because it makes me genuinely so much more approachable. Imagine that there's a family and I'm coming up and I'm saying, hey, you guys want some free food? On a bike and my body's out and you can see me. That is much more approachable than me like rolling down the window of a minivan being like, hey, you guys want some food? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that is...
Probably better you than me, but...
And that's it, yeah, and I also wanted like everyone who comes to volunteer with me to be, you're much less threatening. And it's also the reason that, you try to avoid this thing like the idea that some people are in need, basically we're all just trying to support each other. Like we're all part of a community together. So it's like I just have access to the excess. And because I have that access, I want to share it with people who don't have the same access. So when I'm on my bike, I'm way more approachable. And also it like promotes health. And so it's like I just want to promote that and let people know that this is feasible. Getting around on your bike is very doable. You can do tons on a bike. And we're just trying to basically send a bunch of messages. The interactions are quite short, so you want to kind of like, without saying very much, give them as much as you can.
Sure. After you graduate, do you have plans to scale on a larger part?
Absolutely. So what we're doing right now, like all of the donations we get are saved, and we're saving them to buy a building. We could absolutely like rent some buildings, but I'd rather buy a building, because what the buildings are supposed to be, and this was part of our initial business plan, is there's supposed to be one building on the north side and one building on the south side. They are supposed to be a free cafe and bike shop. And so it's totally free. They're going to be grant-based and everything. And obviously people can donate if they'd like. But yeah, it's supposed to be a free restaurant and a bike shop as well, like in the back or in a garage. Because the north and south side, kind of like a little bit farther west, have the most predominant food scarcity issues.
Do you have you talked to Dream Bikes?
Yes I have, just kind of for the first time recently. I went to a garage sale there and I bought a really great bike on the low, so thank you Dream Bikes. And they had talked to me about that and like partnering, because they actually partner with the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
They teach youth how to fix bikes as well.
And I think that's part of how they part of the people who work there or volunteer there, they're learning how to fix bikes, and that's just a skill that's interesting.
Absolutely.
So if people want to get involved, whether they live here in Milwaukee or around the world, because I am an internationally known YouTube chef, which means that means people in India are watching this.
Cool.
So if people did want to get involved, how would they go about doing that?
So you would contact us via either our email or our website or our Instagram or the phone number that's listed.
And we'll put that all in our description box below. So can you take cash donations?
Yeah, we can, absolutely. So everything is donation based, so we can take cash donations, we can take Venmo. Some people are more comfortable donating through the GoFundMe. And then you can also mail checks and things like that too. If you did that, it would be to Sauce Milwaukee.
Okay. So I just want to reiterate that this is a young woman who is working full-time, going to school full-time, and trying to feed people in our city that have issues with food scarcity. So if you can help, even if you're out of town, please figure out a way to donate. So it's time for the fun part. So we call this, well, we usually call this serious people with serious jobs having a little fun.
Okay.
I'm not sure you're.
I'm not that serious of a person. I can be serious if you need me to.
Well, you're a fun person with serious working
serious
endeavors.
Stuff.
Yeah, serious endeavors. Thank you. And we're going to have a little fun. So we're going to cook some stuff today. I want to make sure that you got some nice clothes on, so I don't want you to get all oogie. So I got you a little bit. So as we usually mention, I have a guest come in today. It's a Sunday. It's Summerfest here in Milwaukee. So yesterday is
very busy out here.
Yeah, it's not we're on the main road right into Summerfest. So Gianni was gracious enough to come here on a Sunday, so I made her come in on a Sunday, and then she's going to cook something for me, and then I'm going to get to eat it, and she gets an apron. So so what are we preparing today?
So today we are preparing, so we're having penne pasta, which Charlie actually prepared for us, and then we're having some homemade tomato sauce that I made, and then we're also having walnut meatballs. And a little bit of greens on top from my garden. So
we're having vegan meatballs. So give us a chance to set up over here. We'll put the meatballs together, and then we're gonna fry them, and we'll put the meal together, and then we get to eat it.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. So we will be right back. And one thing I should mention is that we can edit anything.
Oh, okay, nice.
There's a lot of editing going on.
All right.
All right. We'll be back. All right, Gianni, take it away.
All right. So the first things we have here, so we do need a food processor for this one. If you don't have a food processor, you can just chop everything pretty fine. Thank you. Okay, so I prepared these before I got here, but I chopped up some cremini and oyster mushrooms, and then I seasoned them with some paprika, some garlic, some onions, some salt and black pepper and allspice. I sauteed those in some olive oil. Thank you so much. And so then I will put those in there.
All right, so we got, is there any garlic in there?
It's yes.
Good.
Yeah, of course.
So we're Italians, we put garlic in everything.
Oh yeah, you need some garlic. We need some garlic in there.
So we got some mushrooms.
Yes, so we got some mushrooms first. Okay. This piece is optional, but I just brought these to make these a little bit more hearty. These would not be keto. These are black beans. And so then we just add some black beans to add a little more weight here. It'll make the meatballs a little bit more dense.
Yeah.
And then we have some chopped walnuts. They do not have to be chopped. You can have whole walnuts, obviously, if you're going to food process. Otherwise, if you aren't going to food process, this is about a good size, especially if you want a little crunch. I often don't always add all of them, so I'm going to actually add some whole ones.
Okay.
Because I kind of like when these are crunchy. Would you prefer that they're not crunchy?
I have a rule of thumb that I eat everything.
Oh, great. Well, we're doing great then.
Put it out.
Excellent. And so this is a spice blend here that I just made just so you could see it. And this is the onion flakes, paprika, salt, pepper, allspice, and garlic powder. Yep.
Ooh, allspice.
Yeah.
It's an interesting flavor.
I know. It's especially for this. I didn't think that, but this is my father told me these recipes.
Your Italian father uses allspice?
Isn't that funny? And he didn't start doing that till like more recent years. The one time that I disappointed my father and he like slammed a thing down, my dad's a very peaceful man, is because I started making tomato sauce and I didn't take the skins off. He's like, well, you took the skins off already, right? And I was like, oh no. And he like puts the spoon down. He was like, Gianni. So hurt by that. I hurt him with that one. All right. And so then you're all set here. If you want, I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Go ahead. Oh, the other way?
Yeah, I've had several videos where I tried to put it on backwards and it just didn't quite.
Didn't go super well?
Let me put it on just to make sure.
Okay, full support. Okay.
Good?
Like half. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Hey.
Oh, this wasn't locked up.
Oh,
there we go.
All right.
Very simple.
You're locked in. Okay. So we're just going to kind of pulse this. Oh, nice. This is a phenomenal food processor. Honestly, it is an honor and a pleasure. Okay. And then I'm going to show the camera here just the consistency that we're looking for. Do I go?
Bang it.
Wait,
Other
this way?
Yeah. There you go.
Give a little punch. So this is kind of the consistency that we're looking for. You don't want it to be, This is the consistency that we're looking for here. You don't want it to be super wet because otherwise they'll fall apart and you want them to bind.
Similar, if you think about it, to what ground beef would be.
Absolutely.
That same type of consistency.
Yeah, and so you just want to, so the beans to allow it to be sticky. If you are not going to use beans, flax seeds are a great alternative because they're very like mucilaginous and they will bind. So.
Mucilaginous?
Mucilaginous.
That's a health and science major's word.
I'm going to clean my hands off real quick.
So I wanted to ask you something about your dad. So when your dad said he don't waste food, he's probably somewhere in my age when we grew up with the phrase, eat your dinner because there's people starving and there's kids starving in China. There's kids starving in India.
Yes, absolutely. It's like, and you eat the whole dinner. It was impolite to not clear your plate, I would say.
That's what we learned.
So you want to take a dollop about this big. That's probably a couple tablespoons. And then we're just going to roll this guy up. It's pretty soft and malleable here. Yeah, just like a regular meatball. And so like if you're spending a little more time, these can be frozen just like this or refrigerated. We're just going to place them on the pan here. And and then they do really well frozen as well.
Okay. All right, so we'll put these together and then we'll move over and fry them
up.
And then we'll heat the sauce.
Yeah, we'll heat the sauce.
And then we'll be back in just a sec. All right, so we've got the meatballs right here. So Gianni, we're gonna fry them. We got some olive oil heating.
Yes.
And go ahead and
awesome.
Need some tongs.
So I'll probably grab them with my hands. Got clean hands here. So we just balled these up, and depending on how you can also flatten these out if you want them to be kind of more like little patties. I like them in meatball form. Yeah. And you kind of start on one side. After a couple minutes, you flip to the other side. Everything's already cooked, right? So we kind of just want it to be hot all the way through.
All right. So we got the meatballs, and we have pasta back here.
Yes. We got some penne.
Penne pasta, staying warm. And then here we're going to put your sauce as soon as you get the meatballs in.
Okay, so those are in there. We'll give them like a minute every side.
So talk about this, your homemade sauce.
Ooh, so where are we? Okay, every year I have a garden. We have both I have a personal garden and then a community garden that anybody can grab from. So this is made of all of our aroma tomatoes, our basil from the garden, our onions from the garden, our oregano from the garden, and then of course like salt, pepper, garlic. I didn't grow garlic. We got garlic for the first time this year, so we'll make some different sauce this year with our own garlic. Yeah, and so
All right, so we're going to put it in the pan and let it heat.
Just going to let that heat up here.
All right. And for Tom Garvey, I want to point out that the olive oil is... All right, so we're going to let the sauce simmer, just warm, because it's already cooked.
Yeah.
And the pasta is already cooked. And the meatballs, we're going to turn them. And then we have some greens to add. So we'll talk about the greens, which I think are interesting.
Oh, yes.
As we sit down, because they're some Wisconsin-based, nice browning.
Yes. There we go.
All right, so we've got our sauce heating. I'll put a top on that just to hold the heat in. Pasta, meatballs. So we'll go ahead and finish off the meatballs. And we're going to put our plates together, and then we're going to sit down, and this is a
fun,
nice Italian vegan breakfast.
Yes, yeah.
So all right, we'll be back in just a minute. All right, here we are. We have the meatballs that Gianni made.
Yes.
We've got some penne and our homemade tomato sauce. So give us a little rundown of what we got here, and then
talk about the garnish here. So yeah, that's the penne, and then we have the pasta sauce, just like classic pasta dish. On the top is the meatballs. They do become kind of cubey, but that's like the mushroom, black bean, walnut meatballs, which are pretty good, and you want them to get browned on every side. So that's
and the green.
Yes, so there is, we had some spinach, and also this is a leaf called anise hyssop. Hyssop is definitely native in Wisconsin, and it's one of the most delicious leaves that I've ever eaten.
It's a little anise taste, and it grows wild.
And then you can also garden in here, which is what I usually do. Would you like a bit of this?
I would, please.
There we go.
Just pretend it's basil.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll wait for Gianni to put her hyssop on the. It's not hip hop. All you old people out there, it's hyssop. HISSOP. All right, so let's give her a taste. I don't need to taste the pasta. I know what that tastes like.
Tell me your thoughts.
The meatballs are great. They're they hold together well. They got a very good taste to them. They're not falling apart. I mean, it's like, and then you put your sauce. Your sauce is delicious.
Yay! I'm so glad.
You can definitely taste the black beans. So if you're trying to do keto, you want to omit. What was your suggestion instead of black beans?
You can use flax seeds, which are in there, or you can use like any sort of starch just to bind them. So you can do that. But yeah, because you just want the binding. And I will say, when it is just mushrooms and walnut, you can access more of a little bit less of that black bean taste. You know, like the black beans are kind of predominant in this flavor here, I feel like.
Well, I can't really taste the walnuts, so they're.
So you've got protein in there.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Yes, this is great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I appreciate so much that you taking the time on a beautiful Sunday here in Milwaukee.
It is so nice.
Come and make some delicious food. Talk about sauce and the work in the community that you're trying to do. I mean, we do try to talk about people who are trying to make a difference in our community, and Gianni is a perfect example. Someone working in the grassroots, someone who is going to school full time, working full time, but also has time somehow or another to try to fix part of the part of the food scarcity issues that we have in our city. So to that you should be lauded. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you for all of this.
I think you might be seeing Gianni in some other media escapades somewhere, because people have started to figure out who she was and who she is and what she does.
It was a secret for a good while.
Right, and it's good. So we'll have all the information down below in the description box if you'd like to help out in any way. Would really double appreciate it. So again, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be heading up to Michigan next few weeks. So we're going to do Cooking with Community Leaders, Leland, Michigan style. A couple of people who are long-term community leaders in Michigan. Awesome. So we'll probably be doing a lot of grilling outside and hanging out, talking about their community service. So appreciate everyone's support. Please check out Sauce MKE and the great work they're doing in the community. Please like and subscribe on our channel. And as always, thanks for watching.